1 second.
And I left the check there, and I was rushing.
Oh. Good morning, folks. It's 11:03 on October 2nd. Thank you for coming out today. The meeting is called to order. The affidavit is upstairs. The roll call, Mrs. Lucente,
Here.
Mrs. Cook,
Here.
Mr. Sager,
Here.
Mrs. Dombrowski is here by phone. Helen?
Here.
Good. There is a board majority present. The board minutes from the previous meeting of July 20th, 2023. Is there a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
I make a motion to accept.
Mrs. Lucente,
I second.
Mr. Sager, is the board in approved of the minutes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the vote on the special assessment with the very long list below. Is there a motion to accept the a special assessment for $404,206?
I make a motion to accept.
Mrs. Cook, is there a second?
I second.
Mr. Sager, does the board have any questions on it?
Oh,
No,
not really, but are we gonna go through that? Is that what this is about today?
We don't have to, though, because it's
I mean,
quite,
it's self-explanatory, okay.
you know,
I did have a question. The
Please.
watering has stopped?
I believe so. I believe that's the case.
Yeah, those were the few little things.
Yeah,
to,
it's sometimes we have to, you know, things that we just, it's not only just Heather, there were other buildings as well, but
Okay.
that's my fault for not mentioning it, but there were other buildings as well. Yeah, water is very expensive. The board, I'm calling for a vote for the board. Mrs. Lucente, do you approve the $404,000 special assessment?
Yes.
Mrs. Cook?
Yes.
Mr. Sager?
Yes.
Mrs. Dombrowski?
yes,
The next item is the vote on the archway. As I said to you prior to the meeting, I did not get the final proposal. It's going to require an engineer for the 3 archways. But as soon as I get it, I think you would want to move forward with it. As I said, it's a good idea to do it. It's not an emergency, but I'm thinking, or we discussed about future boards. So do you want to move ahead as soon as we get that final number with that project?
Is there a guesstimate?
The guesstimate is about $55,000, which I put in the assessment. I just don't have the final, you know, I wrote 2 vendors, you know, vendors are not always on time. He was aware, one of them was aware it was the 2nd, so to have it,
Is
but
that including, that's the total estimate?
it's an estimate, and it was based on one of the figures I had gotten, but, you know, it wasn't firm.
And it's for the 3 main.
It's for the
buildings.
3,
of them.
Avon, Devon, and Bristol.
Okay.
So as soon as we get that, but the key is to move along, and if it's, you know, 100,000, which I don't think, then it'll have to be revisited, but up to 55, 60, you know, we're okay.
I make a motion, we accept
Preliminary,
it.
I accept, yeah.
Yeah, so
To
it's,
get the final, you know, maybe we could revote, you know.
yeah,
sure.
well, no, you'll see it, but it's just to move forward and I'll write them again to get the estimate, so.
Thank you, Tony.
So who's making the motion?
I am.
Mrs. Cook?
Second.
Second, Mrs. Cook, Mrs. Lucente, and the board is approved?
Yes.
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 Good. That's it. Are there any questions from the audience? How about Randy first? Go
What
ahead.
are they gonna be doing with to the archways?
Do you know that arch?
Yep.
The metal?
Yep.
If you look at them, they've been repaired, and they're rusting. Now, they're not going to break today or tomorrow, but
On the bottom, right?
Are they
Preventative
replacing the whole?
measurement.
it would have to be the whole archway.
Yeah,
We were
okay.
going to look at a repair, and you know what? I looked at it, and there was no real warranty on it, and I said, it's wasting money.
Right.
because they've been repaired before. If you look at, you could go look at them.
Yeah.
Okay, I just had a question, I guess, kind of math and accounting question about two of the items.
Sure.
One is the legal fees and other costs,
Okay,
and I just wondered, I know you cannot, get into the details of that, I don't expect you to, but it's a rather hefty bill, and I just wonder what's going on, and I just wanted to ask also, because I've heard from other people, and I think even from you, Tony, I think you said this to me once, maybe I misheard you, that if we go into litigation with other parties, we frequently lose. It's not an easy proposition, and so I'm just asking, what's it about and where's that going?
excellent question, and you can go right online and look everything up.
Well, I did. I spent
Oh.
about 5 hours doing that. All I could find.
5 hours?
I did, but maybe
I think it's probably all of a half hour to read everything through. What did you
And I
do?
didn't know where I was going,
Oh.
apparently. I saw messages about it from the budget from the other day and kind of a general sense of what they're, you mean the details are online?
Oh,
Where
absolutely.
would I go to find that?
Answer him.
Clerk of Court, Broward County.
Okay, so it's not on our website, it's on Clerk of
No.
Court.
No, of course not.
So look at Clerk of Court, Broward County, and put in our.
River Shores.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. And you mentioned that going forward, there could be more legal costs of that sort. How can I phrase this? Obviously.
Spit it out.
I will. You must feel this is very important to pursue.
Well, when you read it, then you'll have your answer. So it's not about
Well, not
feeling.
necessarily, because if
Oh.
you're pursuing things that you don't think you're gonna actually win,
Well, no, we don't know that.
of course not, but
No, we don't know that. It hasn't been
you
finally
feel it's
adjudicated.
important to pursue it.
Well, generally speaking, you're not wrong, condos usually lose.
Right.
But if you go read it, we may win, we may lose, there may be a compromise, there may be further legal action, you have to understand there are condo docs, there are laws
Well, I
in
get
place. Well, if you get it, then that's
Well,
what you would need to
but at
do.
what point do you put the equation in there, and maybe, forgive me if I'm just ignorant about this, we could spend $200,000 pursuing these things, but we're not gonna get anywhere with it. in
No, I don't know,
likelihood.
I don't think any of us know that.
Yeah, nobody,
But how far are you willing to go, I guess is what
Well,
I'm asking.
first of all, you know what, we're gonna keep, so what you're really asking is, you want me to pull up all the clerk of the court website and go through everything
No,
with
no,
you?
no, no, I
Well,
don't.
then you need to do that research. You spent 5 hours, but you were not looking
Okay, I'll look
obviously in the
at it.
right place.
I'll look at
And
it.
then that should answer your questions,
Okay,
really fairly well.
well, okay. I'm
But
elected.
because
Since
now I would
didn't
have
do
to,
the
we would
research on
all
that.
have to sit up here and go through everything.
Right.
And that really is not what the meeting is about.
Well, okay.
Yeah,
Um,
and this is, I have to tell you, in normal condominiums, if you do other research, you'll see that's nothing.
Well, can I follow up with one little I'm sorry, but I'm just following.
No, don't be sorry,
I
but you're,
understand.
you're speaking, but you're not
No,
up to
I am.
speed,
I
up
am
to speed.
speaking. But
Yeah.
my question then would be, I think at least one of these, maybe two of them have to do with leaking, going into another apartment, maybe because of an air conditioner or something along those lines. So my question is, frequently, don't those kind of situations, shouldn't the person who's gotten the leakage go to their insurance and file a claim, and then their insurance can go after those people, and they can take have the trouble of going, subjugation and difficulties and. let
Frequently,
them
that's a
get
good
involved.
word you used, frequently. What
Okay.
if, what if,
That's not the case in this.
what
It's
what
not.
if
Okay.
we don't want to do that? No, I'm not, screw you, I'm not gonna do it. What,
Okay, I see.
what are you gonna do?
I get it.
Oh, do you really? I hope so. Any other questions?
Well, I have a couple quick more
Oh,
questions. I'm
okay.
so sorry.
No, don't be sorry, you'll be on the board next
Regarding
year.
the pool,
Good,
just the pool.
excellent question.
Just the pool and the decking.
Correct,
We pay 63% of the cost of that, I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm. correct.
How much is that, 63% of that project?
isn't that Middle River?
That was the meeting, I think, in May. This is not a Middle River Club board meeting.
Well, but it's mentioned in these notes. I mean, it
Oh,
is.
I don't have that off the top of my head. There's going to be another assessment coming up for Middle River Club,
I
so
read
that
that.
should be covered up and covered with this. I don't know, what was it, 80, 60, so I don't remember off the
Okay.
top of my head.
So our portion of that is $100,000, or that involves.
Well, there's going to be other additional,
Okay.
because we have to put the bulk bin back.
Okay, and one last question, and this is probably the toughest one, because it's painful. But, I mean, okay, so our budget for insurance at one point was 25%, I think 2022. 2023, it's become 34% of our budget. If I'm reading this correctly, next year we can expect it to be close to 50% of our budget. So with all of you having the fiduciary responsibility of making a budget, that doesn't look really good, and it looks like we're gonna have HOA increases, and I don't expect you to have a crystal ball, but that's the real story here. The $1,500 assessment, okay, I don't care. 2,000, I don't really care, but what's coming up is gonna be a hell of a lot more painful, or am I wrong? Can you address
Okay,
that?
so you spent 5 hours researching
I
something.
tried.
Well, that's okay. I'm going to help you out now.
Okay,
You spent 5 hours and you really didn't find the information you were seeking. What you need to do is, and I'm so glad Diego's here this morning, what normal condos do. That's the catchphrase. So I have already thought of your question, and I might as well make the announcement now. We really do not know what the insurance is going to cost next year.
of course not.
So there is no crystal ball because it's political, it's legal, it's required. Therefore, we're stuck.
It's required, of course.
So the danger of raising the maintenance too much and just second guessing it is the maintenance will never go down in a normal condominium. So it's going to have to be a special assessment because I started to look at the budget for next year, and for the known factors, it's going up, but not
Okay.
big.
Okay,
But, so you're gonna have to expect the new normal. Now, getting back to your research, what you should do is research other condominiums like they can't afford, they're giving them to developers. They can't afford, oh, you
I'm
know
well aware
that.
of that. I
Okay,
have looked at that.
so
but-
fortunately, we're not there here
Right.
this year.
But-
Now, next year with the new board, we may be there.
Okay, but how can I'm gonna phrase this as directly as I can.
Yeah.
The board, not you, but the board has the fiduciary responsibility to budget for the next budget.
Great.
Not to decide, and that's an ongoing expense insurance. It's not a special assessment beyond this time we got clobbered, but you can't keep assessing for an ongoing expense. I don't think that's really part of your fiduciary responsibility.
Okay.
And so why would you decide we're gonna do another assessment for something we know we're gonna have to pay every year?
We have to
Sorry, I'm just
budget-
asking. Somebody's gotta
We have
ask.
to budget what we think is reasonable and what to expect. But if it goes beyond that,
Yeah.
What
then we
I,
have to have.
Wait a second, Miriam. I already answered your question, so let me say it a different way for you. Once the maintenance fee goes up, it will never come down. Tony's not gonna be doing this anymore after, certainly, Jesus.
There are no
Right.
maintenance fees anywhere, any condominiums in Florida, period, that are gonna be going down anytime soon. We know that.
Well, no, the reality of it is here, they have gone down in the
Right,
past
but-
years. Yeah, that's not normal.
no.
So, and they went down fairly, and major projects done without special assessments. So what you're trying to suggest, which I gave you the wisdom to say, was there has to be a special assessment, no different than other condominiums, because they really can't crystal ball the amount of insurance. If you put 40%, and I put it in there, of 475,000, do you really want to go there?
$65,000, that's what it costs.
Yeah. Do you really, would you rather have an assessment on it? Because eventually the politics are going to have to get involved, that everybody's not going to keep putting up with this.
Well, that's why I asked the question, and also it's.
But it's been answered. So the
Okay,
answer
thank
is, wisdom would be not to raise, because we don't know what it's going to be. We can't guess it. It's not something that anybody can guess. It depends what politics are and what laws are. You know, they're already changing the reserve requirements going into 2025.
well aware of that.
You're well aware of it because politics have to get involved in it. You see, politics started
Well,
that.
But I'm only interested in the accounting, and I have one last question, then I'm gonna be
Yeah.
quiet.
It's not
And
liking the
This is
answer.
very respectfully made to Tony and to the board, but I would appreciate it tremendously if in the future, when we get communications about things of this importance, that they be a little more focused and a little less impossible to understand. And I'm
Okay.
sorry, but this is a rambling, difficult thing to understand. I wouldn't have sat down and spent any time trying to figure this out, but I couldn't even get to the dollars and cents of it. So forgive me, I mean. I
No,
don't
we're
mean
not,
to be
it's nothing
rude.
to forgive. It's your opinion. Any other questions, folks?
No, it's not my opinion, Tony. I could read you one of these things, and you would have to explain it to me. Who the hell is Saul Alinsky? Why are we talking about rules for radicals?
Yeah.
What is this all about? I mean,
What
I'm
is it all
sorry.
about? It's how we operate around here, unfortunately, all to our
That's a
detriment.
reference nobody should have to listen to.
Yeah,
or
I
read.
know, yeah, I got that email from your friend. Anything else?
Okay.
Would it help
Fine.
if we had a question? Because it doesn't sound like this is for an association meeting, it's for a board meeting. So it really doesn't matter what questions we have.
That,
Well,
I'm
yes,
not gonna answer it, Tony.
right, okay. You had your question answered. Janet, what question do you
Yeah, I was
have?
just curious, what's the procedure, back to the litigation, what's the procedure the board does to determine who they're suing, or are we just getting sued, or are we suing people? What's that process
What's the process?
for the board members? There has to be, you know, who determines, the board members determine who they're
No,
gonna sue?
the
or how
board
does that work?
determines what needs to be actions that need to be taken. So, for instance, there was damage. Again, everything's on the website. You just look at it. The question's been answered. The attorneys cannot move forward without the consent of the board. Does that answer your question?
No, that's pretty obvious, I think everybody in the room knows that.
Okay.
You have to hire an attorney. I'm just saying, as a board, and Janice and some of us were former board members, so I'm just kind of curious, it seems it's very litigious, is it just the sign of the times, or what's the procedure for the board members to say, we're gonna go sue that person? I'm just curious.
Well,
Well, it's not, you can't really just come up with an answer for a question like that, because everything is different for each case, and what you said, it's a little bit of the sign of the times. It's not like 10 years ago, shall we say, where it was easier, things didn't cost so much, people everywhere are stressed, and, oh, now we got that going on and this, so.
Is
it's
it
not-
usually somebody leaking on somebody else above them or something? I mean, it seems the only one I heard about, the two I've heard about, one in Bristol
It's
and one in.
generally more serious than that, and the board expends our money to correct a problem when a landlord is remiss, and then we have to go after them in most cases.
Okay.
I also want to readdress your question because I understood it. And I know Tony answered it, but I'm gonna try to explain it. So basically, because I'm also an owner here and I'm interested just as well as being a board member, what I heard Tony saying, if I understood it correctly, is rather than putting a permanent special assessment on an unknown number,
All right.
a permanent increase in our HOA fees, which will never go down, to cover the increase in insurance, rather just have the one-time special assessment and keep the lower HOA fees. And
I
I'm gonna tell you.
understood that. Yeah, I did understand that.
Yeah, okay, and I'm just gonna say, let me just tell you, I own other condos in Fort Lauderdale, and this, I know a lot of, I haven't been here that long, but I can tell you that the other ones I have are scary and a mess. I just had an increase in, with no reserves, a million problems, from $428 to $671, cable's not included. We have backload of zoning issues in a beautiful place
Sure.
by the beach. So that's just, just to give you like a comparison of other condos. I'm kind of learning this as I go along
I
too.
think this
Yeah,
has
I'm
been
very-
very well managed in many,
Yes,
many,
very,
many,
very
many ways.
well.
I agree.
Compared to, and oh my God, I don't even want to.
it doesn't matter,
special
Robert.
assessment.
You're gonna see the change next year. Change is
We're
coming.
gonna have no choice in seeing that. I
Yeah,
get it.
yeah, and you know what? It's gonna be a change long overdue here.
You mean because of the government,
No,
deciding on
because you
reserves
know
and
what? There's been no reality here for the last 13 years. None. So it's coming, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, anything else? Yes,
So
Jacqueline?
the board meets once every 3 months?
No.
Twice a year.
How often?
Twice
Twice a year? Yeah, because I'm thinking that this is such important information, and I do have a lot of questions.
Okay.
I also would like to know how can we suggest